So now that we understand the concept of combat rating, that same concept applies to armor, armor pin, potency, and resistance, but for different things. So for example, armor reduces all damage taken and increases your blocked amount. Your armor is 49 higher than expected for your level and your current activity and difficulty, increasing your damage reduction from blocking by 7% from a base reduction of 50%. So it's going to be essentially testing the enemy's armor penetration. And if you're higher, you actually gain a percentage bonus to your blocking. And so what is blocking? Blocking is you have a block chance here, but increases the chance to block all damage from an enemy attack, but it will never block critical hits. So when you don't get crit, what happens is it reduces your damage by 50%. That's what a block is. And you need to have block chance to actually proc a block. And when you do, normally it's going to automatically reduce that non-critical damage by 50%. But if you actually beat them with armor over their armor pin, then based on the disparity, you're going to have more block percentage. So instead of 50%, in my case, at this hell difficulty, I now take 57% reduced damage. So now we take that same concept in reverse for armor penetration. Ignores some of the enemy armor and increases critical hit damage. Your armor penetration is 189 higher than the expected for your level in the current activity and difficulty, increasing your critical hit damage by 42% from a baseline of double damage. So this is additive with your critical hit damage you see here. So 42 plus 18, that's 60%. It's just a modifier of 2.6 towards your normal damage is going to be my critical hit damage at this hell difficulty. And this stat is actually incredibly important when you're just over the threshold from 0 to like 20 points, 30 points higher than that threshold. It is probably the most valuable stat in the game because it gets hit hard with diminishing returns. So you go from 0 to like 20% extra critical hit damage for only like 32 points. As you go up further, then you get a bonus, but not nearly as much. So that's when you're going to want to keep investing in your damage gems here. So just keep that in mind that the threshold is what matters. And that also changes with hell difficulty, just like combat rating. So we just saw what the threshold was for hell 3. Now we go to hell 4. Let's see exactly where we're at here. Now I'm only 9 higher. Look, 9 higher gets me 6%. 189 higher only got me 41%. You can really see the massive drop off in value there. Armor pin, based on the initial threshold. That's the benefits of armor pin. Essentially, armor pin, if you have more armor pin than armor, then you're going to get more critical hit damage. If you have more armor, then you're going to get extra percentage block. And that really only matters if you actually have a decent block chance. I only have a 6%. So having more armor at the end of the day doesn't really matter too much, except for the fact that when they do crit on you, they're not going to have all this extra critical hit damage. So in a PvP environment, even though I'm trying to keep this very PvE, you just having a lot of armor means that their critical hit damage is not nearly as high. That's all that is what it's going to do for you. And at the end of the day, when it comes to whaling and all that stuff, a lot of these stats, you're just going to have to accept the fact that a lot of the whales are going to have so much more armor and so much more armor penetration that they're always going to have the max cap of 15% more block and 50% more critical hit damage. Those are like the caps, and it takes a ton. It takes a lot more to actually reach that point. They're just going to be trending towards that point. It just takes a big difference there. An example here would be this whale, just so guys can get an idea of just how pointless it is to really focus on it too much. Yes, you're going to want to do your daily activities in the Lord of Horderim to be able to get this stuff, and eventually you'll get there. These are the kind of potential sets you're going to be dealing with. He has like over 1,000 over me in armor and armor penetration, potency, and resistance. So stuff like this is what you're going to be dealing with potentially in arena. So just make sure that you're not putting too much time or too much effort into these stats. These are more stats that you just want to reach your PvE thresholds and not necessarily the PvP sides, because there's always going to be the bigger fish. There's always going to be the bigger spender, and you're just going to essentially, I don't have armor, or I don't have armor pin. I don't have armor, essentially, to him. For example. So I just want to throw that out there, that they are thresholds, and that difference will matter. But in PvE, it's set to a reasonable amount. As long as you're just doing your Legacy of Horderim and all that stuff, you're going to get enough to increase this right here, your Legacy of Horderim, and get like resistance, armor pin, stuff like that. And this is all free to play stuff. You can do this every day. Totally fine to do. Also, you can farm 6 gems every single day out of hidden layers, and then also 12 just throughout the day if you can get into a party of 4. And so you'll eventually be able to level up your gems. It's going to take forever. It's going to take weeks/months to ever get to that point. But eventually this is going to go up. It's not completely hopeless. So eventually, so make sure you're doing that every day. But at the same time, in a PvP environment, it's over. There's always going to be someone bigger. But in a PvE environment, it's actually really nice because the thresholds, even at the higher ranks, are really reasonable and they're really impactful too. So make sure you